through Hollywood, I fell into the deepest depression. And right before I got on the show, right before I went out, I made it to top 50. I literally said, God, I do not want to go on this show. I said, I'm going to be a mess. Don't put me on the show and make me be an embarrassment in front of all people. I couldn't even see American Idol as a good opportunity because my heart had been poisoned. Been poisoned by the anger, been poisoned by the bitterness, poisoned by your heart is your real set of eyes. The Bible says, guard your heart, for out of it flows the issues, the spring of your life. How you look at things flows from this area. And God simply said this, as I sought and I prayed, He gave me Psalm 46:10, and it simply was this: be still and know that I'm God. Some of you need to hear that, be still and know that I'm God. And I remember I kept getting that verse everywhere I went. I knew God was speaking to me. And so finally I said, I'm going to obey this verse because this depression is making me upset. I'm about to go on live TV. I can't go like this. And I remember I was like, all right, I'm going to be still. I became real still. And I was like, you're God. And nothing happened. Nothing happened at all. And I was like, argh. So finally I looked in the Greek and the Hebrew of the word. In the Greek and the Hebrew of the word simply said this. It said, it was the Hebrew, because that's Old Testament. The Hebrew said, this guy was explaining the verse. It simply said this: to surrender yourself, to let go. And then it said, the last definition was cause yourself to let go. That's what that verse was saying. Be still, let go, cause yourself to let go, release it in God's hand. And I knew what God was telling me that moment. He was telling me to let go of all the questions, all the things I didn't understand. And maybe that's the same thing God is telling you. Maybe you were abused as a child. Maybe you were mistreated by a spouse. Maybe someone molested you. And you've been hanging out to that thing and it's been making life so bitter. You can't forgive. You got to let go of that thing. In a minute, I remember I sat at the edge of my bed. And as I sat at the edge of my bed, I didn't want to let it go because I'm thinking, God, it's not my fault. I didn't cause this. I prayed, you didn't answer. Your fault, not mine. You know, we kind of calculated, but I knew it was the answer. So I sat at the edge of my bed, and as I sat at the edge of my bed, I said, I refuse to let this situation destroy my life and make me a bitter man. And I pictured myself as they were burying her casket. I pictured myself being buried with her. And as I put a hammer in this hand in my mind's eye, I just began to hit that hand. Begin to hit that hand and say, I refuse for this to destroy my future. It's almost like it said, cause yourself to let go. And as I started pounding, I said, God, I refuse. This is not going to destroy me. God, I'm going to fulfill everything that you have for me. And pound, and all of a sudden, even if I wanted to hang on anymore, I couldn't because I broke my grip. And it didn't happen immediately, but it started happening as I kept repeating this exercise. Simply what happened is, as I kept repeating this, when the feelings would come back, I'm like, no, I released that, I released that. It's almost like God pulled a cork out of my heart, and the negative emotions, the anger, the bitterness, and the extreme frustration, the angst of the situation.